Hello and welcome once more to my YouTube channel, Aunty Tabby Connections. Aunty Tabby Connections is a channel dealing with issues about dating, that first stage in the dating process. It mainly deals with the what do I look for, where can I find a partner, how do I go about it. This channel has been sponsored by Pottersville Gardens, a garden that is located about 19 kilometers off the Thika Superhighway. Today's video, we are going to discuss about a lady called Natasha. Natasha, of course not her real name, who had to hire a private eye. Natasha hired a private eye. Natasha walked into my office like 15 years ago and she registered to get a partner. And you know, they fill in a form like this, a form that has guidelines on who you are and the kind of person you're looking for. And after she filled in the form, and I looked at it, I realized earlier in the morning, there had been Jack, who was exactly what Natasha was looking for. And so I told Natasha in the morning, there was this gentleman who was exactly what you're looking for. Natasha was in her early 30s and Jack was about 2 years older than her. And both of them were in the corporate world. Natasha was in the marketing field where she worked for this corporate sector job that made her travel all over the world. And Jack was equally in the corporate and he too used to travel. But this particular time, we are looking at Natasha. Now, when Natasha met Jack, Jack told her that he liked her. And a little while later, he even gave her the key to his residence and even told her that he just moved into a new residence and he had just decided to buy new furniture, everything new, that he was bored with where he was living before. And you know, that is an act that would make a lady believe that truly this gentleman is serious with me. A little while later, he even invited her. It was over Easter weekend to go and visit the mother, Jack's mother, up country. And Natasha agreed and they went up country and spent 2 nights there. And Jack's mother was so nice to Natasha. He even gave Natasha a room where she would relax and where she slept. And she was really warm and nice to Natasha. And they spent their 2 days there and then they drove back to Nairobi. Because of Natasha's work, that day they drove back to Nairobi. Natasha was meant to fly out of the country for her marketing job. And so they bid each other bye with Jack, and Natasha drove to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi. By the way, if I take you back a little, when Natasha met Jack, Jack had even introduced Natasha to his place of work. The colleagues at work, the guards at the gate knew Natasha. Everybody knew her. So Natasha had no reason to doubt Jack. But as fate would have it, when she arrived at the airport, her flight was cancelled. And as the norm, the airline was going to take the passengers for that particular flight to book them into hotels in the city. And Natasha requested the airline if they could allow her to drive back home, and on the time they were given for the flight, she would return later the following day in the afternoon. And so she drove back to her house. And as she was driving back, she called Jack. She wanted to tell Jack that she didn't fly out. Jack's phone rang once and then it was disconnected. And as she kept trying to call again, the phone was not being picked. And so she arrived in her house worried about Jack. It was at night. She spent the night worried. She tried the phone many times. It was disconnected. It was out of service. And so early in the morning, she drove to Jack's house. And there was no response to the doorbell, so she opened the door And she went round the house. There was no trace of life in the house. There was no trace of even droplets of water at the sink. It's like no one had been to that house from the day they left for Easter to their mother up country. So she got so worried. And so because it was the early hours of morning, before 6 a.m., she drove to Jack's place of work. You know, while they had met earlier, Jack had told Natasha that there are days they have so much work, they spend the night working in the office. So Natasha figured out he must have spent the night at the place of work, but then she was worried that the phone was not being picked. So she drove there. And lo and behold, when she got to the gate, she talked to the security guards. They said they hadn't seen Jack from when the office broke up for the Easter weekend. And so worried, she kept trying to call, and now the hours for her flight were drawing near, so she didn't get Jack, and so later in the afternoon she flew out for her job. When she returned to Kenya 2 days later, you know, her norm was she would drive her car to the airport and leave it at the airport parking, and then she would drive herself back to her home when she arrived from abroad. And those were the days where we didn't have the Uber taxis, we didn't have the Bolt, you know. Nowadays we have little cab, we have many, you know, taxi cabs or cars for hire. So that's why she would drive her own car to the airport. So on her way back, she called Jack, and he picked the phone, picked the call. And she told him she had really looked for him on that day and he wasn't found. And you know what Jack told her? That there was so much work in the office, he had been called to work, and so he had spent the night in the office. Now, my dear viewer, just figure it out. Natasha had already driven to the office and Jack was not there. So of course she knew Jack was cheating. And so she visited me back in my office and told me that she was planning to hire a private eye to see what is this about. And she did hire a private eye. And you know what the private eye found out? That for real, Jack was a married man who was a father of one child, and that his wife was just about to deliver the second child. And not just that Jack's family actually lived around the corner in the same estate where he had taken a new house and lied to Natasha that that was his new home. And Natasha was shaken and she wondered, why did Jack's mother never tell Natasha that Jack was married? The private eye discovered that Jack's mother was relying on Jack for support. He was the breadwinner. And so, because of that, it's like the mother had really feared to tell any girl that Jack is married, and that Jack would actually bring many girls to the mother. And probably, I figure out that why he told Natasha that sometimes they spend the night in the office, he wanted to explain the days he will not be available for her. So what do we then say, my dear viewer, my dear friend? That a perfect liar can put their best foot forward and even seem like they are winning your heart. They can put their best foot forward and keep it there, but trust you me that they cannot make it remain forward all the time. So please take a little bit longer before you decide that you truly know this person, because as you wait, time will tell. Something will just happen and the truth will just be revealed if you only take your time. Because, my dear viewer, what do? We are in that stage of the rapid social change from the African tradition where the community, the aunties, the uncle, the family took care of your dating needs. Now we are in the kind of in-between the African tradition and the industrialized, individualistic world. So what are we going to do? We are not going to fear because there are liars out there, people who cheat. We are going to take wise counsel, but then use the facilities or the avenues that have been provided, because nature abhors vacuum. So when something happens that disrupts the norm or the culture or the social norms, something else comes in to fill in that gap. But then we must tread carefully. Thank you very much for listening to me. We are going to walk together with you. Come on, walk with me on this journey of telling the tales of how it has been. And remember, Aunty Tabby Connections deals only with the real life experiences. Like I told you before, I have done this for almost 30 years. And 30 years have given me so much information about ways that, or things that happen on this path of looking for a marriage partner. Remember to hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to my YouTube videos. Also, remember to pass them on to the next friend. Maybe their partner is lying on my database waiting for you to tell them. And maybe their partner is there. Remember to pass on the information. If you want to know much more about the way we do dating, visit my website, connectwithauntytabby.com. Connectwithauntytabby.com. You can write me an email, you can chat me up, we can see how your questions can be answered. Thank you so much for being my friend. I truly appreciate you. Thank you.